Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Arsaholics. Thank you so much for tuning in. So you've got myself, Myers, as the host today, and I'm joined by a new guest of the show, Ruban. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello to everyone tuning in from all different corners of the world.
How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, despite the result yesterday, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Um, it's good to have you on. Good to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. Like I did mention in the response. I don't know how much of a deep dive I'll be able to give, but just another
Well,
Arsenal fan, just trying to rant, I guess, right?
yeah, no, let's do it, man. I mean, look, you were at the game with us yesterday, obviously. You sat in the clock end.
I did
We
indeed,
sit
yeah.
we sit in the North Bank. So obviously opposite ends, which is quite good because we should both be able to give different perspectives from what we saw, where we were sitting or where we were standing. First things first, let me just kind of get it out the way. So obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, we'd really, really appreciate a thumbs up on the video. It just goes a really long way to helping us grow the channel. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, if you can rate us or like us, again, it just really helps grow the channel. So thank you very much. We do appreciate it. All right, mate. So let's sort of get straight into it because, like I said, we both went to the game yesterday. Arsenal 1, Man City 3. I mean, a pretty tough defeat to take.
Yeah.
And I guess potentially a result that a lot of people expected. If you're being completely honest, like I think between me, Rajesh, and Aaron, and we all actually predicted we'd lose, especially after we saw that Thomas Partey wasn't going to be fit and was going to miss the game. I mean, going into the match, mate, like me and you met up for a few drinks beforehand as well. Like, how were you feeling? And when you heard the news about Partey being out
Well, you
as
kind of
well?
ruined my journey in, I'll be honest with you, because I was kind of trying to ignore like the kind of messages from the WhatsApp group saying party isn't starting.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been more confident having, like Jorginho is a great player, right? I think just to put that on the side. And I think he's a suitable replacement, but just chucking him straight away at the City game, because obviously we thought that would be the replacement, straight away and stuff, which we'll get into, I think, later on in this conversation, because I think he did perform well, given the opponent. But yeah, like leading up to it, I was very jittery. I was obviously a bit nervous. But I did, unfortunately, predict 3-1 Arsenal, if you might remember. I don't know. So, and this is knowing that Partey wasn't going to start. I just had this feeling, man. I just had the feeling. I think we've righted a few wrongs. We've lost to teams last season, seasons before. And this season, we've really kind of, we've come back from being down. From being a goal down even. I feel like there's just a real sense of togetherness about the squad. All things that I'm just reciting the same kind of cliches that are going around the fan base. So I was genuinely quite, I was fairly positive, obviously nervous because it's a big team, at that point, we'd only had lost to United away, maybe controversially. So, it was all sorts of kind of weird feelings, but I was overall, I was fairly positive. I thought a draw would be, like if we can't win, we don't lose. So I thought a draw would be a great result to take, which then you obviously said, well, for City, a draw isn't enough. They need to win. And sadly, that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. I mean, the other big kind of, I say big, I mean, I don't know. Some people were surprised by it. The fact that Tomiyasu came in at right back instead of Ben White. I mean, Ben White's maybe, I don't think he's been that bad personally, but obviously he's been the victim of, a couple of early substitutions from Arteta.
Yeah.
And do you think there was anything specific behind the, Tomiyasu coming in instead of Ben White, tactical?
I mean, to be honest, I always struggle to try and decipher the 4D chess that goes on between Arteta and Pep and some of the other top managers. I can't figure it out, but I have faith in Arteta, and I think Tomiyasu played well. Again, this is like hindsight speaking. Yes, there were some defensive errors yesterday, again, which we'll go into, but I wasn't like, when I saw Tomiyasu start, I wasn't like throwing it away. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't, surprised in any way. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to echo the same things I think that you said, like in terms of Ben White has been great, and he has kind of fallen victim of these kind of substitutions as well. But it didn't make me lose any faith in the team getting a result, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, Tomiyasu was obviously first choice right back last season,
yeah,
and couldn't, when he wasn't around or when he wasn't fit, we really missed him. So, it
yeah.
wasn't like it didn't feel like the team was necessarily weakened, but maybe just a slightly different option. And like you say, I'm sure Arteta had his kind of tactical reasons for that change.
Yeah, and I think sorry, mate, sorry to cut you
No,
off.
go for it.
I feel just kind of to stick with like no spoilers because I think everyone knows the score obviously at this point, but like it's funny you mention it because I feel like the goals that we let in were kind of our own doing in some ways. It was defensive errors. I feel it was sloppy defensive errors. I just, just to talk about some of the other defenders, like I just think, Gabriel didn't really have the best game that he had. Saliba, there was a lot of talk after the Brentford game, I feel, where he was basically getting slewed for his aerial threat. Well, not lack of aerial threat, sorry. His defensive, attributes aerially against Tony and this, that, and the other. Because he won like no duels or something, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there was a lot of talk about, Saliba and basically our defensive line. I think, I just think I think they just capitalized as they would because Man City are a very strong team. There's no shame, by the way, for the record as well. There's no shame in losing to this team. I don't think, it's frustrating because at 1-1, we're going into the second half thinking, cool, we're at home. Let's do this, game on. And then, it was just a bit harsh to receive, to be on the receiving end of 2 more goals. And I mean, this is without, oh, mate, sorry. I feel like if you have structured this thing, I'm going to be completely ruining it by mentioning different things at different points because
That's okay.
I've just had one thought about the atmosphere. Then I've had the other thought about the time
should we talk
wasting.
Should we talk about the atmosphere then? Because
Let's do it, man.
So going into the game, and in terms of us actually going into the ground, like it felt for me anyway, my kind of take on it or experience was it felt like, I mean, obviously it was a massive game. It felt like a big game. And I think there's been this common theme at the Emirates this season. And every time like we, as in we, myself, Rajesh, Aaron, and talk about how the atmosphere was for a previous game, apart from apart from the Brentford game, the atmosphere has been unbelievable this season. And, everyone talks about, this kind of, this connection that's now started probably last season with this group of players and the fans, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And you really see that, you sense that, and you feel it in the stadium. And like, absolutely, last night it was rocking. Like you could just tell that the fans were trying to do everything they possibly could to really rally the team, to really push the team, and and it felt like the fans knew that the team would need that little extra push. And it was like the stadium was rocking. And I don't know if you've like seen anything kind of post match, but like even it's quite funny because typically like Sky Sports, TalkSport. I mean, I don't necessarily listen to TalkSport that much, but TalkSport this morning, Simon Jordan, I think he was at the game, and even he was saying, I think he said something along the lines of the atmosphere was amazing. The Arsenal fans were fantastic. It felt like a proper football. It finally feels like a proper football stadium this season. He's really giving praise to the Arsenal fans, and we've never had that. In like, there's never been a time where anyone neutral has ever said, Arsenal fans turn up and Arsenal fans are allowed. Basically, it's never happened. So, full credit to the fans yesterday. I don't know how you felt going into it.
So I'm completely agree, man. Games gone by, years gone by, it's been very quiet, regardless of the score, regardless of what's, I mean, I haven't gone to, as many, I'm not a season ticket holder like yourself. So take what I say with a pinch of salt, but years gone by, it's been very quiet. And like, I feel like as soon as something happens, I think what summed it up, and this happened with a game, I want to say Leicester, where Saliba scored the own goal. I think it was Leicester. And if I'm wrong, sorry, apologies.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
You guys don't clearly provide. You don't do quick fact checks before you allow guests on, so I'm all right there. So yeah, man, I think Saliba obviously scored the own goal. I felt like within 20 seconds, we're all chanting the tequila chant with Saliba's name. Like it's all popping off. It's just, and yesterday the same thing happened with Tomiyasu when De Bruyne scored that fantastic finish. I've got to say, glorious finish. Little cheeky L1 square or L1 circle, whichever FIFA controllers you go for. And it was banging. It was, again, everyone together. This was just at 1-0, obviously. But it was just, I'm lucky enough to be sitting yesterday. I was at the Clock End and not too far from the Ashburton Army, and it's like raucous. It is a proper, like, I mean, when we're winning, it is a carnival. I've been lucky enough to go for a few games this season where we have been winning, and it's been like carnival atmosphere. And I'm not exaggerating there. It's been really fun, lots of shouting and screaming and enjoying, and everyone just, the whole, I think because I have something to compare it to. Like, because like I said, years gone by, it's been very quiet, man. I've been at derbies. Yeah, there might be, like, I don't know what year, but there was a Spurs, when we played Spurs at home, and there was nothing really on the line. I think that, like, but it was so quiet, like painfully quiet. And it's so lovely, so amazing to see that atmosphere really, because obviously we have that title of Highbury, Library, all of that stuff before, and, so it's really good to see.
It's funny because, I mean, I don't know if you, so I was going to say, Highbury for me, I mean, I only went a few times. Didn't really get a chance to go as often as I would have liked due to my age, pretty much, and having no money. But I remember it being quite loud. It's quite funny because maybe I just got lucky with the games I went to, but it was never, just probably my experience more than anything. I feel like that Highbury Library tag was probably a little bit unfair. But I think, I mean, look, I think I've been. Sometimes you watch like games at Anfield, for example, as in you watch them on TV, and sometimes the atmosphere can be lacking. It's just not like a game where fans are really, really up for it. But yeah, okay.
I think given the kind of, sorry, man, I was just going to say yesterday, especially given the kind of situation, and it's the top two fighting it out and everything on the line, it made sense that it was going to be as loud and raucous as it was, Yeah, I think it was definitely, and I've got to say as well, I'm unfortunately, one of my biggest regrets, I guess, and this was obviously younger and also lack of money as well. I've never been able to go to Highbury, man. I never was able to, which is extremely gutting. But on the topic of the stadium as well, I've got to say the new kind of panels that they've got out there, including the kind of Highbury, the panels. I don't know if I'm describing it well.
Artwork, I think they call it
the artwork. The artwork, banging, love it. Absolutely,
they smashed it, haven't they?
Yeah,
they smashed it. Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, like you say, first, I mean, look, if we talk about the first half, I guess to start with, because Arsenal, for me, I felt Arsenal were good. Like, it feels like we went toe to toe with them. There were periods where City looked dangerous. There were periods where we looked dangerous. But I think overall, like Raj put it quite well yesterday during the game. I don't know if he might have said it to us when we were with you post-match as well, but he sort of looked at it as a bit of a chess match where both teams were very tactical, but it kind of showed how our level, if you think back like a couple of seasons, even last season, I think, when we played them at the Etihad, but if you kind of go back over the last few years, the gulf between City and us has been huge. And I think what we really showed in that first half yesterday was, like I say, we were able to go toe to toe with them. And I think we're now at a point in our kind of cycle or project where we are a serious team, basically. And I think the first half really showed that. And it was really, really unfortunate the way that they scored, right? Because like, you touched on it, a bad mistake from Tomiyasu. And I think, probably if he tries that pass 100 times, it probably makes it back to Ramsdale. If that's what he was trying to do, more than 90 times or whatever. Just very, very, very unfortunate. But like you say, KDB finish was unbelievable, and that's why he is probably the best midfielder in the Premier League. What were your thoughts just on the first half in general? Do you feel like Arsenal were kind of good value for?
I think definitely. I think obviously I'm going to be biased Arsenal fan. I think definitely we were really good, and I think toe to toe is definitely. I think it's just so weird, man. Like I know I've got to look at it objectively because the second half definitely wasn't toe to toe, right? But I think even though we did concede, I think we did play very well. It was I think this is the thing, man. I think before I might have said to you, I think the trouble with this game is that we need to really just. Sorry, I just saw a comment coming in from Aaron and that threw me off a little bit.
Just put it up on the screen as she logs onto YouTube. Carry on, man. Carry on.
Yeah,
Ignore Aaron.
Nah, it's all good. I'm sorry, mate. I'm a big fan of what you do, but I just had to. They had to get the board understudy for today, and the Guardiola, if you will. But yeah, no, I can't remember what I was saying, man. I think it's just a case of. Yeah, mate. I've been thrown off, to be honest with you. I don't know what's happened there. Clearly not a professional. You guys make it look far too easy. I think it was just along the lines of basically, I don't remember the first half other than just basically stoppages. It was very frustrating. They frustrated the crap out of us. And obviously it was tactical and it worked. So at the end of the day, like, I feel like the difference between like that Newcastle game equally was very frustrating because they did similar tactics of time wasting and this, that, and the other. But there was no attacking output from Newcastle. The difference with City is it's almost like it's inevitable. This is not going to be a goalless game. And the same with the FA Cup game when Ake scored, kind of almost against the run of play in some ways. And this was exactly what this game was when, unfortunately, Tomiyasu made that mistake, which led to the goal. Like, it was kind of seemingly against the run of play. And to be honest with you, in that first half, and I really do love Eddie. I really do love Eddie. But I just feel like there was a chance fairly early on where he could have just banged it in and that could have been 1-0. And I think had we been leading, should I say, completely different game, I think. Easy for me to say, maybe. I don't know.
So you're referring to the header that he misses in the first
half? Yeah. I think it was fairly early on. I want to say maybe the opening 10 minutes, maybe less. I don't know.
I'll be honest, I can't remember. Yeah, but no, I mean, obviously I remember the chance, but I don't remember when it was. But so, I mean, look, we managed to come back into the game, and it was actually Eddie who wins us a penalty. Quite unlucky, actually, with the chance that he kind of tries to take, even though he gets taken out sort of a second after, or a fraction of a second after he hits the shot. But just on the penalty, because there was quite a lot of talk about this. Like, I mean, me and you were just saying before we started recording this that we haven't really watched the highlights properly. Like, I haven't watched the game back, and it's a very different experience when you're at the game versus watching it on TV because you don't get the replays and all the rest of it. But from what I've seen, in regards to that penalty, a lot of people are saying it was soft, and a lot of people are saying that normally isn't given as a penalty. I just keen to get your thoughts on.
No, I completely agree, mate. Like, to be honest with you, for those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting me in person, I'm quite short. So when there was the off the line clearance, I thought that went in, and there was people screaming and shouting. So I jumped in and like going around to hug strangers and stuff, the usual Arsenal celebrations. And then it went quiet, and then suddenly referees pointed to the spot. So I thought it might have been a handball or something like that. Definitely not a penalty, having rewatched it.
Really?
So I'm sure Gary Neville will be very happy to hear that from an Arsenal fan.
I think that for me, that's the kind of penalty. I mean, when you say you don't think it was a penalty, do you think is that because
I think
he's already got his shot away?
Or... Maybe I take that back. I think it's soft. No, actually, yeah. I think maybe I just think if that was it's that kind of classic rule of if that was given to City, I would have been 100% vehemently denying that penalty. And I think it was soft. It was soft. I mean, we'll take anything we can get at that point, I think, as well, because we really need to break down that City team. And if anything was going to happen, it was going to be like a golden opportunity like that. Also, I mean, Ederson already on a yellow. If he's the reason why there's a foul, I mean, I'm not fully prepared for all the facts and regulations of the FA, and is that not a sending off? Is that a second yellow? I don't really know what's happening at the stage. Like,
I agree. I think we were a bit confused, like when this happened, and after the game. I don't know what the reason was. I'm not sure if there was a reason. No idea, to be honest, mate. I'm with you in terms of not really knowing the kind of official rules and what. Basically. So, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, interesting kind of view on the penalty, because for me, I feel like they're the sorts of penalties that should be given more often. Just because, yes, he's managed to get his shot away, but I think if that happens, like if a centre back or if anyone on the pitch, if that happens outside of the box with two outfield players, it's going to be a free kick all day long. And he doesn't just like clip him; he completely takes him out. Like Ederson's nowhere near the ball, so. I think if you're a striker and you're trying to get the shot away, you probably see Ederson rushing towards you. It must have an effect on
you. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Maybe you've changed my mind.
But like you say, I'm probably biased as well. Well, obviously I'm biased, so probably an element of that in there as well. But look, Saka steps up, and he's
Cheese Louise.
I mean, calmness
personified. I mean, the fact that Ederson did the whole "here you can shoot here," like he did the whole point. And at the clock end, we had a fantastic view as well. So that was even better to see. And man, Like, it's, by the way, I know maybe I shouldn't be like, I don't know, promoting other Instagram groups or whatever. But one thing I will say, sorry, I'm going to do it. I don't know. I'm sorry if I get you in trouble or you get, but yeah, basically Gooner View, GOONERVUE. They posted a nice little clip of like, a collection of photos that become like a, little flipbook thingy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks gorgeous, and I'll send it to you afterwards.
Nice.
But it looks banging the way the penalty, as in, just a side note, completely botching my chances of being on this pod again by talking about another Instagram guy who's
no, man, it's not that kind
I know.
we're not that kind of outfit, promoting.
You know what, man? Sorry, just to come back to the penalty thing though.
Yeah,
glorious finish, and it was the same. Like, do you remember the Maitland-Niles penalties?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
it's
just the guy just rocked up like he didn't, like,
he just literally casually, it's proper walking the dog, then banging it top bin. But yeah, no, I think it's so nice, and obviously given the whole past of Saka penalties for the Euros, etc., it's just so good to see him just be like, and I don't know, maybe I'm making this up, maybe I'm sensationalizing it. I feel like Odegaard might have wanted to step up for the pen as well, and I feel like Saka was like, nah, I'm taking this.
Oh really? And we couldn't see that from down our end.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe like I need to rewatch again, but there's going to be, I feel like there was a few players, and obviously City did the usual clever, annoying tactics of taking some time. Edison ran over to, like, I felt like he ran to Pep or something. Like, there was all sorts of stuff going on to delay the penalty being taken as well. And you really catch that in the moment, like when, lucky enough to be at the game. It was just wonderful because obviously as a fan, you're like bricking it as well.
Yeah.
And Saka, fantastic finish. And then at that point, game on.
Exactly, yeah. Game on, and it was right before half time, wasn't it? I mean, I think 1-1 going, like you say, game on at half time with pretty good performance, or very good performance, I would say. And I think generally Arsenal coming out in the second half of most games, maybe not the last couple, Brentford and Everton, but generally this season we've come out with intent in the second half, and we've really tried to kind of get an early goal, take it to the opposition, control the ball, dominate the game, and almost try and, win the game in that first 15 or 20 minutes or whatever of the second half. But it was really interesting because, City came out, and for me, I felt like City just turned it up. They just took it up a gear. They just turned it up a notch, whatever you want to call it. Like, obviously they made their substitution, which we can come on to, like, which was quite an interesting one, because it was obviously meant it was a quite a big tactical change for them. But just in terms of what City are good at, right? Like, we came out of the ground, I think just before we met you, we were obviously, like, me, Aaron, and Araj were very, like, we were down, obviously, and just kind of initial thoughts and reaction. And my view on it. My view on kind of that second half generally was, I felt like the mistakes that we made, a lot of the mistakes that we started to creep into the game, I felt like they came as a result of just City doing what City do, just being such a kind of harassing type team, pressing so high up the pitch. And that's what they do to everyone. That's when City are good.
They have gears. I think that's what it comes down to. They have gears to go up, and like, even, I mean, at 1-1, obviously I did believe, but even at the end of that half, it was a little bit sticky. I feel like there were points where, there were corners being given away, and there was some nervousness. I feel like, at the, at Ramsdale's end, I feel like there were opportunities that they could have scored again, and this, that, and the other. But I think, like you said, after that sub, obviously planned, because, he's a tactical genius and all of that jazz. Like, I think I think they just have gears, man. I just feel like that's something that we don't have, that we might need to address. Also, lots of other things about, like, I think we are getting a bit predictable, and we have been for the past few games, I think, which is, like, there's rotation in the squad, but there's also kind of the way we play as a unit needs to change it, like, needs to change, like, in terms of in-game as well. And obviously Pep has the, ability and the kind of players to do that, and we're not quite there yet. But I'm still hopeful, man. Like, I feel like I would have been, if this was like a 3-1 and we got a jammy goal, which is ironically probably what some people tuning into this might actually be thinking. But if we got a jammy goal, we were outplayed off the pitch, and, like, just, first half, second half, everything, just it was just basically an embarrassing scoreline, then I'd be a little bit less kind of optimistic. But I do feel like, given everything that's happened, we do have still some way to go, but we're not that far off from the likes of City. But the only thing is City are going to improve, and we need to be able to match that. But I think you made a very interesting point about the gulf. Like, seasons gone by, this is kind of just like a cool, turn up, get thrashed, and then focus on the next game kind of thing. So it was definitely good to see, like, I feel like you asked a completely different question, bro. And I'm just kind of thinking, I swear you asked about something completely different, and I just started,
Well, we're just, no, that's fine, mate. That's fine. No, it's good. It's good to like, just like get it all into perspective. But like, I was just, talking about sort of the second half. So they made their sub. Mahrez comes off, Akanji comes on. They push Bernardo Silva further up the pitch because he started at basically left back, which is
sorry. Can I just cut you off for a second?
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva, I don't even think he was meant to be on the pitch at this point. I don't know if he's got a family relative with the referee or something like that, but I feel like he should have had about 4 yellows at some point in the game. I don't know, again, biased, whatever. But I feel like there was a point where I was just thinking, how has he just not got at least a single yellow at this point? I think he did get a yellow by the end of the game, but there were so many decisions. And on that topic, sorry, again, this is like, you've just started to breathe in a new kind of conversation, and I've just gone into Tomiyasu getting that yellow in the second half after his
What did he get a yellow for again?
It was time wasting on a throw in.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, interesting. So you get 35 minutes for you to correct the situation. Referee went and spoke to Gundogan, and he gets a yellow. Referee doesn't address Odegaard about this is time wasting or whatever. Also, don't know why we've been I don't know. Anyways, bro, sorry, maybe I should keep quiet and you should talk to yourself at this point.
All good. No, I mean, look, I agree with the point you make about the time wasting, but I think it was just one of those games where there was just so much nervousness and like emotion in it. It was like it was like almost like a bit of a side note in the end, but I do get what you mean. It's a bit weird. But look, so they made their sub, changed it up tactically. Pep did a bit of a pep in terms of making a pretty major change, and at 1-1 in a huge game. And I think about 10 minutes later, it kind of pays off for them. I think it's Gabriel who, I mean, a bit of an inexplicable one, really. Kind of similar to Tomiyasu in the sense it's just a really bad mistake that you just don't expect him to make. A pass that gets intercepted. And I think this is the other thing. City, this is why City are so good, because other teams probably don't, a lot of other teams maybe don't punish you as quickly as City do, but like literally we lose the ball, like bang, 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 couple of passes, and Grealish has got a very, very good chance, and a bit unfortunate the way it goes in because it comes off Tomiyasu, and it kind of looks like when you watch a replay of the goal from behind Grealish, it looks like Ramsdale. It looks like Ramsdale's probably got it covered. You can't, it's hard to say, but then the deflection sort of takes it past him, and they're 2-1 up, and it I mean, it felt like a huge goal, and obviously it ended up being a huge goal. I mean, I don't know, mate. You got anything else to sort of add on that?
I think to be honest with you, it's nothing more. It's bizarre. Like, I feel like we've been, Gabriel. I mean, just the whole defensive line have been having a pretty solid season, despite even the last few. I mean, they just had a solid season. Like, they're doing well, and I think just that goal to go in at that time as well, there was a lot of passing around, and it was just almost like it was quite difficult to watch, I'll be honest with you, at my end, because it was at the clock end, it was just like they were kind of playing with us a little bit, they were toying with us, and that's when I was just like, okay, cool, this is going to get worse, because they've got gears, and I think, to be honest with you, Haaland was a different Haaland from the FA Cup Haaland that we faced. He was, he was fantastic, he was great, and got to put your hands up and say, like, if you've got the resources to buy Haaland, then you've got the resources to buy Haaland, isn't it? I can't really, at the end of the day, like, I'd take Mbappe at Arsenal over Haaland. Stick him in with a number 14, with all due respect to Eddie, and call it a day. But like, no, I just think with, I think it was sloppy defending, man. And I think someone said, one of the three of you guys, you mentioned about how we haven't had to be that, maybe I'm not wording this correctly, we haven't had to defend that hard this season so far. I feel like it was, like in terms of now we're having to really work hard defensively. I don't know how to put it. Maybe I'm just kind of going off on one here, but I don't know if you kind of see what I mean in the sense that in the past, I think it just comes down to what you just said. Like in the past, we haven't had to react as quickly as we had to, whereas this felt like a bit more calamitous with our defending, with those goals going in, with that Grealish finish and also with that kind of Haaland one at the end. It just seemed a little bit kind of unorganized.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, I think combination of maybe mistakes that led to nerves, young team, the fact that you're kind of getting pressured a lot by a very, very good team. I think all of that just sort of culminated in these, these mistakes. And even the third goal, I mean, we may as well talk about the third goal. Like, it was I think from a City perspective, it's a pretty good move,
Oh yeah.
They put a good move together, but we looked a bit like nowhere in terms of defensively. But I think by the time Haaland gets the ball, there's no one near him really. It's pretty much take a touch and he just like pretty much passes it into the corner. And obviously that sealed it for them. That wins them the game. But
which is at that point is when I started hearing the City fans. I'm not going to lie. Like,
you were
it was, right? We were right next to the away end, right? And it's just, this is infuriating. As much as growing up with the rivalry of United, and just we spoke about this at length yesterday. I won't reveal too much of what was said, but like, I think having a strong dislike for United fans, I think growing up, especially in the communities that we spent a lot of time in, and City fans yesterday, mate, honestly, they were so quiet. And then obviously the goal goes in and they're, doing this whole top of the league, this, that, and the other. And then we score, and then it's just silence. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you got to respect any away fans, I think, in my opinion. But the voice wasn't there until like 2-1, and then obviously 3-1. And there wasn't long left to play after that. But it was just really difficult to kind of, it was really difficult to stomach. And for me to get to you, where I met you guys at the roundabout at the end, I had to walk through these City fans.
And, really?
And
of course you did,
yeah. And for me to keep quiet whilst like these City fans are like, with London accents, some of them, mind you, but that's neither here nor there. Like, it was just so difficult to keep quiet and not say anything and get myself into trouble. But I'm a lover, not a fighter, right? So yeah, I think it was just, again, I've gone off on one.
No, that's cool, man.
But the third goal was very well worked. I've got to say, like, you've got to, like I said, man, there's no shame in losing to City, and they have different gears. And I think I'm positive that in seasons to come, we are going to be close to that level with the correct reinforcements, with the correct kind of upgrade on players, so to speak. Like, I know Aaron mentioned a couple of things about Eddie in the chat and stuff. And I feel like now might be a good time to address them. I don't know. Sorry, mate. I'm not trying to kind of just jump in and do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But I just feel like it makes a lot of sense. Like, I think in terms of defenders aren't scared of Eddie, I'm afraid. And like, he did it against United, and I think that got us all gassed because he can do it against the big teams. And, but I just feel like he was, he doesn't offer anything else on the pitch, which is so true. And he does work hard. I can see, I can, go into the games and watching the games. You can see that, but I feel like it's just not, sometimes, I know it sounds harsh, but your best isn't good enough. And I think that's where we are, or that's where maybe I am with Eddie. Like, I think I said, like, a Tony, if we had a Tony yesterday, I think those headers would have gone in, personally. Like an Ivan
You're
Tony.
Right. I mean, a lot of people saying if we had Tony, or if you put Haaland in the Arsenal team, Arsenal win the game. So I agree with you. A different type of striker, or probably
if you switch the managers and switch the clubs and switch the money, I think we might have won that one last night. But I
was going to ask you about Eddie then. Yeah, like, it's good. He's a good, because I think now we've got a decent sample size with Eddie, right? Where he's obviously smashed it when he came into the team after Jesus got injured, and now he's kind of, I don't want to say fallen off as such, but especially yesterday, the chances he missed were massive, because it's those types of chances in that type of game. That's the difference. That's ultimately the difference, right? It's very, very fine margins. Excuse me, very, very fine margins. But what I was going to ask you, I mean, it sounds like you're, I don't want to say you've lost faith with him, but would you be happy if we were to replace Eddie with someone else this summer? Like and I think just to add a bit of context to that question, right? So obviously he got a new contract, I think last summer or end of last season. He's on, pretty big money now. And we as in our lot, we always have this conversation or this debate with Eddie about, ultimately he's a second striker. He's a backup striker. You don't, if everything goes well in your season, a player like Eddie Nketiah doesn't play much in the Premier League, basically. He's the guy that comes off the bench. He plays cup games, whatever. We've been unlucky this season with the injury to Jesus. But in terms of a second striker, like if you go across the Premier League, there's not, second strikers wise, there's not many teams that have, if any, really, that have a world-class option to come off the bench. And I'm not even saying Ivan Toney would be a world-class option. I completely get that kind of thinking, and I'm probably in the same boat. But just on Eddie, like, if you think about what he has been able to, or what he has offered in the games he's played, he's generally been pretty good. I'm not saying you excuse him necessarily for missing those chances yesterday, because we needed to put those chances away.
Yeah, I think, you know what it is, bro, right? Firstly, coming back to the Ivan Toney thing, the reason why I mentioned him is because of his physical and aerial threat. And I think that's what we would have, I think, definitely played to that and got a few goals. With Eddie, I've got to preface everything with the fact that I love him. Like, Hale End boy, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like he's been at the club for a long time. I know he had a little kind of affair with Chelsea, so to speak, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be a lot of fact checking on this episode, I think. After
you're right, he was at Chelsea first, and then
East,
and then
But he's an Arsenal boy, right? And I think at the end of the day, he's still, he's done wonders for the for the English under 21s, I feel, and like even growing up and all that. So I've got to preface everything with the fact that I do really like him, and I really do want him to succeed. You're right about the second string of strikers across the league, but if we're challenging for the title, and with January it's gone now, obviously, I feel like if we are gonna, this is going to be our only opportunity in a while for us to really, and to be honest with you, I can't even believe what I'm saying. I've got almost G-checked myself because of the fact that top four, I would have been more than happy. And I've got a very, very funny, and by funny, I mean not funny at all, feeling that United might actually go ahead and win the league. I've got
win the league,
mate. Honestly, I've got this really weird feeling, and I really hope I'm wrong. But I just feel like, anyway, that's another conversation for another podcast. I think I'm not ready to crack open another beer or bottle of wine or something just yet for that. I think with Eddie, I just feel like, to me, I feel like I counted 3 chances. At least one of them has to go in. Like, he has to. And I don't think it's his positioning. I don't think it's just literally, at that case, it's a case of aim, direction, and quality.
It's execution, isn't it? It's execution.
It's exactly that. And he does so much right. He does so much right. But as a striker, kind of in some ways, the only thing you've got to do right is get the ball in the back of the net. And I really don't, I don't want to hate on him, really like him, but I just think we need to really look on a more suitable upgrade. And I think that's where we are really with Eddie. And I think the thing is, right, would Jesus score those chances? Do you know what I mean? That's also another way to look at it. Like, I don't know if Jesus is guaranteed to have, scored those opportunities as well. But I think with Jesus, as he makes his own opportunities, he offers so much more than just being the guy who's the number 9 who finishes. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely agree.
And I think we really do miss him. And on that kind of topic as well, of players that we missed, like Partey didn't play, obviously. Eddie did play. Oh, didn't. No, I'm taking the piss. Partey played. Partey didn't play, sorry. And obviously Jesus didn't play. And we still faced the City team. And we didn't do too badly, really and truly, right? So can't really be too disheartened with that, I guess. Maybe I'm just really scraping for some sort of positive, sense here. I don't know, man.
I mean, like, look, I think, my overall kind of view on it, like, I'm super disappointed because, like we said at the start, right? Like you said, sorry, it's a game you just don't want to lose. Like, if you can't win it, just don't lose it. But I think on reflection, like, so this probably leads us quite nicely onto like what this means for Arsenal for the rest of this season. Still fair. I mean, it's not early in the season anymore, but there's still a lot of football to play. There's still a lot of points to play for. I think we've got 16 games left. So when you put it like that, there's so much that can change, and who knows what's going to happen, right? Your point about United and them coming back into it could very well happen, right? Hopefully not, but it could. But like, it feels like the reaction has been, I mean, it's been like 24 hours since we lost, but the reaction last night, you know, we're all checking Twitter and all the rest of it, and, you know, Sky Sports and everything. And, you know, there's been a bit of an overreaction where people have like kind of lost a bit of a grip on kind of like where we actually are and what's actually potentially possible for this team. And for me, in terms of just on reflection, like you say, and we've said it a couple of times in this discussion, right? We went toe to toe. And yeah, we didn't have Party, and I think everyone was shitting themselves before the game. We were all like, all right, you know, you may as well not bother playing the games. A lot of people were pretty much had that sort of attitude where it was like, without Party, we've got no chance. And Jorginho had a decent game. Jorginho did what he does quite well in terms of his qualities showed.
Definitely.
And I'm not sure if and you know, like maybe even with Party on the pitch, we may still have lost that game. I don't think necessarily the reason we lost was Party. I think maybe the reason we lost was just City were better than us. Like, you know, that could be the case, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the league, because ultimately the team that wins the league is going to be the team that's probably the most consistent in those like 16 or 17 games that are left, you know. And City have done it so many times, but it's now, you know, Arsenal are going to have to show that they can do it. You know, it's their turn. You know, that's what we're going to have to do to try and win the league. But like, just in terms of the rest of the season, right? Like, we've got a run of fixtures, and we always do this, where we've kind of gone through a period of games where we've not done very well at all, picked up 1 point from 9, haven't won in 4 games in all competitions. But now we've got a run where you look at the games that we've got coming up, and we're going to come on to Villa in a bit, so we'll talk about Villa in a second. But like, where do you see Arsenal now, you know, having gone through this kind of tougher period? Do you think that, you know, realistically, do you think we can sustain a title challenge? Do you think we're going to kind of fall into a bit of a top 4 rate, like, you know, challenge for top 4? What do you think, like 24 hours after we've just lost to City?
I'm not as, like, you know, facts are facts, right? Facts are facts. Facts are facts. We've got a game in hand, and we're level on points. Goal difference aside, I know they're kind of walloping us with that as well. And by they, I mean City, right? But at the end of the day, it's not like we've suddenly dropped to like second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, right? So it's still very much possible. Again, I've just got to always slap myself that I'm even having this conversation about us being title contenders. I think it's just difficult to think about slipping because of the fact that we played so well. We will really deserve to be top, you know, for as long as we were, and hopefully we will be back on it come this Saturday, which is another thing, man. 12:30 kickoff after playing on a Wednesday night. Don't know like what's going on there, but and away as well. And obviously, you know, Pep made his comments about how tough it is for him to travel to, you know, London to, you know, but do you know what I mean? Anyway, excuses at the end of the day. But like, I'm still positive, man. You know, I think genuinely, hand on heart, top 4 is where I sit, you know, and anything above that is, you know, great. Because I think once again, we've proven that we can get good players in without Champions League football. So with the introduction of Champions League football, you know, maybe that dream of me getting Mbappe might come true in it. But you know what I mean? Like, as in, I know I'm, you know, like, I'm being silly, but just, you know, I think the level will improve. There's going to be further development with the players who are already young, and everyone keeps saying young, inexperienced, and this, that, and the other. But all of these games, as difficult as it may be to stomach, are going to be so vital in years to come, when a new, you know, a new selection of City players will come in and face the Premier League for the first time, or whatever it might be. And we've already been there, and we've already felt that pain. And I mean, unfortunately, we felt that pain 11 times in the last few years or something. I don't think Arteta's got a result at City for a long time, against City even for a long time. But I think, I'm still hopeful, man. Like, I don't see why we can't win the league. But at the same time, the reason why I'm mainly positive is because I don't see us losing any of those top 4 places. And that's kind of the ultimate goal. If we're looking at it in the general kind of taking a general view, if we step back and take a general view and realize, obviously it's easy to speak stupidly when you're hurt, and a lot of the stuff on Arsenal Twitter is frankly is bollocks. Like, obviously, like, people are really kind of, talking about Jorginho and this, that, and the other, and I genuinely thought he had a good game personally.
Yeah,
It was difficult because you want Partey, he's what he's capable of, he's proven it. But I think with Partey as well, man, I just feel like it's that availability. Availability is the strongest kind of attribute you can have in football, I feel, and consistency. And if he's not available, I just feel like he's such a great player. But what good is that if he can't play?
Well, I think that ties up to why we're looking at players like Declan Rice and Caicedo.
I would love Declan Rice, man.
Me too.
I would love Declan Rice.
Saying it for like 2 seasons, so yeah.
I thought it was just this season. No, okay.
I've been sorry. No, I've been like kind of campaigning for him for a while.
Oh, my bad. I thought, but I mean, it looks fairly realistic, man. Like,
it does. Yeah.
We'll see. But I'd even take Jude Bellingham. I know he's not the greatest player, but
we can dream. We can dream.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, look, I mean, I'm still, just to kind of finish on that point. Yeah, I'm still optimistic. I agree, man. Like, top 4 would just be amazing. It will just be amazing this season in terms of an achievement. And having Champions League football back next season at the Emirates, and just being in the mix, being in that conversation again, being kind of at the top table, all of that stuff. That will be big for Arsenal. And like you say, it kind of puts us on the platform, the next platform up, or the next level up, where it means, the kind of players that we can hopefully attract. But, look, we're still in a title race. It's not over. Like I said, there's so many points to play for. And that kind of moves us quite nicely onto the next game, the game against Villa on Saturday. So we've got, like you say, very, very, not very much time to recover from that kind of game. Very intense game, very difficult game against City. We've got to pick ourselves back up quickly. Go on.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, man. I think Emery really got rinsed by a lot of media, and I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. I'm not going to lie. I really wish. Snap. What's good, Fez? I've seen Nav in the comments as well. Sorry, getting a lot of love, man. Jeez, thank you.
Yeah, I know. I think everyone's tuned in to see you, mate.
I don't know. Don't get used to it. Don't get used to it, guys. I'm going to stick with watching Apprentice on Thursday nights, bro. But, no, I think I just think he got such a he was treated rough, man, by media, and I think we didn't give him as much time. To be honest with you, all of it's a blur. I just respected him because he obviously had a great CV before in terms of trophies, won a Europa with the resources he had, and I think we might get our just desserts for that. Maybe that's a very terrible attitude to have, because we really need to pick ourselves up now at this point, because it's a case of, is it a blip or is it a slump? And we really need to turn this kind of, okay, cool, it's all happened, whatever's happened, on to the next one, and treat every game as like, bam, forget the game in hand now. That's neither here nor there. Yeah. And just be psychologically strong. Also, on the topic of I think the mental strength that City showed as well, because we were really coming back to the atmosphere of the ground as well. We were screaming, man. The whole, it was so hostile. As a City player and a City fan, like, I
guess they've been there and done it, haven't they?
This is it, yeah. Not at Champions League level, unfortunately for them, innit? But neither have we, so I don't know where that confidence came from for me. But it was so hostile, and like, I think we need to really be able to just push on now. And unfortunately, I never predict losses because I'm an Arsenal fan and I don't want to speak it into existence. So when we get to that stage where that might happen, I guess you're going to do a prediction at the end of this, right? For the
we'll finish off with predictions. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, just looking at Villa, right? Like, it's quite interesting because obviously, look, they've changed managers mid-season. Emery's come in. I think he's actually been doing all right. His record, I believe, is they've won 5 of the 9 games that he's managed. They've lost 3. So they're kind of, I guess you could say, doing a lot better than they were under Gerrard for sure. But he seems to have added a bit of stability, and that is what Emery's about, right? That style of play. He likes to play quite compact and tight and just be very well organized. And the 12:30 kickoff thing that you mentioned, like, this has got, for me, it's got some similarities to that Everton game a couple of weeks ago. Like I know that
Yeah.
had its own narrative with Daesh and everything, but you know,
Yeah.
it feels like, you know, we're going to be playing first. It's away. We haven't had that much time to recover. And look, these sound like excuses. I'm not making excuses, but I'm just, you know, being completely honest. Like they're going to have to really pick themselves up very, very quickly. Like they can't be feeling sorry for themselves after what happened last night. They're going to have to be back on it. And it does feel like, you know, I post Everton, after the Everton game, it was like, right, we've got a home game against Brentford. You've got to put in there has to be a reaction. There has to be, you have to win the game, but there has to be a reaction. And we weren't able to do that. We didn't really get the performance. We didn't get the result. But now it feels like, again, we're saying the same kind of thing. Because I think if we start to now drop points in these sort of, like we've got Villa away, Leicester away, Everton at home, maybe, I can't remember. But, you know, these are the games that if you're going to win the league, like I was saying before, you've got to just churn out results, even if you're not playing well.
Exactly that. And I feel sorry to cut you off. I know you were about to say some more, but I think again, it's about kind of righting those wrongs from last season. And I feel like we've done a lot of that at the beginning of the season. The first half of the season, I feel like we've done a lot. And I feel like this is another opportunity, like you said, to pick ourselves up, despite the negativity that you just heard from me about a minute ago. I'm still kind of eager. I'm still kind of expecting for us to really go at it. And yeah, of course we can't feel sorry for ourselves because this is a competitive sport, man. Like, you know, and there are going to be teams that are ruthless, whether that be City, whether that be even United at this point now, looking at this blip. They had, I mean, I don't know if you tuned into the Barcelona United game today, just like before we went on.
Saw bits, but yeah.
United played well, man. It was 2-2 in the end, and they played well, as much as I hate to admit it. Rashford, again, killing it. And they're coming into a really good run of form at potentially the worst time for us. And for us to be on the kind of opposite end, not great, you know, not great. So I think this will be a real kind of, I mean, I feel like every pundit out there said, this is going to be the test. This is going to be the test. This is going to be the test. And I feel like now they'll probably stop saying that because we failed this test against City. So maybe it's less pressure on our side. I don't know. But it's all narratives again, like, you know, new manager bounce with Everton. Maybe I'm just talking excuses here, bro. I don't know. But I feel like with the Villa game coming up, we've really got to just be like, you know, and my mate Fez, shout out Fez, by the way, for getting in touch. He's just mentioned about the whole, you know, thinking that, I mean, Arsenal do have a better team. And I'm likely to agree, but it's not sometimes about having a better team or not, unfortunately. It's about the way the team is managed. And like you were alluding to before, Emery has kind of, you know, good tactics as well, you know, and he knows the Arsenal team fairly well. Yes, there have been some changes since, and our style of play has changed, but it's not that far from, you know, what he would have experienced. And he'll know, more importantly, he'll know the weaknesses of the players.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, you don't sound like massively confident.
I feel like I kind of started off not confident, then I am, then I'm not. I'm in between somewhere, bro. I think I'm still like, you know, I'm still suffering from the defeat yesterday, to be honest with you, for me to be overly optimistic. But I feel like I'm still going to predict a win. I'll be honest with you. I'm still going to predict a win. But what I will say is I think we're going to have to work very hard for it. This isn't going to be like I feel like games gone by. We've played Villa already at home, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did. We won, but I can't remember the game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but I feel, to my knowledge, I feel like it was a bit of a kind of, we just won easily. Maybe I'm making that up. Was it a 2-0, I want to say?
Honestly, can't remember, mate.
This is terrible, man. It's like the blind leading the blind here.
We just made something up.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 8-0. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just think with Martinez as well in goal, it's just that whole kind of, he pisses me off as well, man.
He's not left Arsenal in a good way. So look, let's do predictions then. So I quickly messaged Aaron and I messaged the boys to get some prediction off them. So interestingly, Aaron said 1-0 Arsenal. Raja said 2-1. He did give some rationale to that as well. I'm just sort of reading the WhatsApp chat. So he said something along the lines of he thinks if we don't start winning soon, he really thinks we're going to get dragged into a top 4 race or battle. And he says if we win against Villa, I can see us going on a winning streak. And he said, I'm also feeling fundamentally better about not having Partey in the team, but obviously I would rather have him. So I think he's basically saying
Jorginho is
Jorginho
a suitable,
is not a bad kind of
there you go.
not a bad kind of guy to come in. So I mean, I'll just quickly give my prediction as well. So I think you guys, like the fact that you all think you're predicting wins has sort of maybe convinced me as well, because I was sort of going to sit on the fence. I just think it's going to be quite. I've just got concerns about being able to come off the back of this little run that we've had of bad games, bad performances, bad results, and the City one might have just taken a lot out of them. And I'm very worried that Arteta is just going to stick with the same team again. Like I really want to see a couple of changes. What you want?
No, this is the thing that kind of troubles me, man. I just think we need rotation and you need the unpredictability. You don't want to turn up and be like, you know, as an opposition, if you see the same team, you know the systems, you know the way they play, and that's something that I'm worried about just in the general long term. But Arteta can only do what he can do with the resources in front of him, and he can only play with, you know, I mean, like, I don't expect him to suddenly bring on Nelson to start and Cozy Dewberry. And like, do you know what I mean?
No, of course not.
So,
but I'm looking at players like Trossard, right? I'm looking at maybe like just freshening it up a little bit. Like Martinelli's just, it feels like he's just,
he's staled out. Yeah,
it's gone a bit stale. I think stale's the right word.
He had a good. Sorry. I'll just. Sorry, bro. I don't know, because I know we've moved on to the Villa talk, right? But I do want to say, I feel like Martinelli had a good game. He had a good first half, should I say, at City. But I don't, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure when Kyle Walker got a yellow. I feel like Kyle Walker got a yellow. Anyway, I feel like he should have really exploited that fact that he was on a yellow. Was he still on the pitch at this point?
So this is really interesting, right? Yeah, so you're right. He did get yellow. And I had the same thought. And I was really perplexed by, so obviously first half, we were behind Arsenal attacking, so we were behind our defense, if that makes any sense, like looking at it. So every time basically Gabriel had the ball on the left hand side of the back, you know, the centre back, so he's the left centre back. Every time he had the ball, you'd see Martinelli would be on the touchline, you know, literally hugging the touchline, and there was that ball out to him was there, and then he's kind of one-on-one with Walker. And every single time Gabriel just came back inside and passed it to Saliba or passed it to Jorginho. He never went out to Martinelli. It was a really weird, like I was really confused by that, because it just seemed like a really obvious like tactic, like you say, go and attack the guy, you know, the fullback who's on a yellow card. But sorry, anyway, you were saying.
No, I think other thoughts have come into my head. I know we've moved on, and I'm sure you want to get to bed at some point as well, bro. Sorry. But in terms of coming back to the City thing as well, and I think experience is a big factor, because I think the nerves really appeared where you've got like even players like Odegaard overhitting passes, shaky moments in defense, and all of this. It's like when a shark smells blood, they're going to attack, right? When you sniff that, and that's what City are like in that sense. That just made me think of the whole, you know, the whole Martinelli thing and just not passing to him, and I think that comes down to confidence. Maybe there was just no confidence. I don't know. I feel like Martinelli could have been like used better or whatever, rather than me jumping to a conclusion of he didn't play well. I feel like he wasn't used well, as opposed to, you know, but I do think it needs to switch up. And I do agree. Like, I think Trossard does need to come in.
Especially when there's only 2 days between games, right? Like
100%.
It's an opportunity to do that. But yeah.
And that's me saying that despite having Martinelli in my FPL. So, you know, that's got to be something, right? It's got to be worth something. Arteta, if you're listening, firstly, hi, thank you. But secondly, yeah, jump in with Trossard, man. I think, and he's a good player and he's experienced. Like when he came on that half, I think one of the first things I thought was, it's so good to see. Mate, sorry, it's all a blur. But when he came on against, who was it, bro? When Trossard had his debut, like not his full debut, but he hasn't had a full debut. But
he came on against United, and he's obviously scored against Brentford.
Maybe it was United then. But he came on and he looked like he'd been part of the team for like years.
So it could have been that. It could have been the City game, the FA Cup game, because he started that game, the City game. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know that. Yeah, one of the games that first, basically his first minutes as an Arsenal player, I just feel like there was no adjustment period, and that's exactly what we want. Given that he's, given that we've got less time to kind of recover, basically. So yeah, man, I'm just echoing the same thoughts.
Yeah. I can see. I mean, yeah, I think, you know, combination of kind of bad form and fatigue maybe as well. I wonder if he might just think this is maybe the game to just make one or two changes. And you know, like, this is why we kind of bought these like this is why we bought the likes of Trossard, right? It wasn't for him to just sit on the bench. It was for him to be ready to go in games like this with that Premier League experience and international experience and all of that. So yeah, let's see what kind of team he picks up. I mean, look, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Arsenal win as well. I think it's going to be, like you say, I think it's going to be really tight. I think, like, as you said as well, we're going to have to work for it. I'm not necessarily feeling that confident in backing that prediction.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we absolutely have to, we have to win the game if we've got any ambitions of actually winning the league this season. And I'm hoping that might be enough motivation for them to really put in a performance. And yeah, fingers crossed Partey's back, but it doesn't sound like, I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. But yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, I was going to go for 2-1 as well, but just to be different, I don't think it's going to be a 3-1 game. The thing is, I would say 3-2 just to be different, but I don't know if we've got it in us to score 3 goals. I don't know. I haven't been following Villa as much in terms of, well,
they just lost their last couple. They lost to Leicester. I think they got
battered, didn't they? I feel.
Yeah, and then was it United? City, they lost to last week. City, they lost to last week. Yeah, which is
like run of the mill stuff, really. Old news. Yeah. I'm going to go 3-2 just to be different. I did think 2-1, but I think it is, like I said, I think it's going to be a very tough one. But this is the thing. I think, I just think it's just the unforced errors. Sorry, I'm still obviously again reading from the City game as well, and I just think it's the unforced errors that we need to really think about. Set pieces, not feeling confident at all, and I think this is where Villa will probably exploit. I think Ollie Watkins is a great player as well. They've obviously got a great keeper, so even if we get past the defense, we have to beat Martinez as well, which is such a shame, man. I used to love him, and he's such a knob now. Like
we had some oh god, Nero and it was just funny because every time Martinez comes up in conversation, like we have always had that debate about should we have sold him, should we not have sold him, and we just go around in circles with it because it was like if we hadn't have sold, like, anyway, whatever. But yeah,
Ramsdale is our number 1 now, and he's fantastic. And I don't even know who our number 2 is. Is it Klein?
Turner.
Oh, of course, Tina Turner, of course. Yeah. But yeah, who's a solid player as well. I do like him, but I haven't seen enough of him. But he played well in the. I feel like he made some good saves in the FA Cup, even despite us going out. But
he's been decent.
Yeah, Fez, I know it's Matt Turner, bro. I was just joking. I know it's not Tina Turner.
Nice one. Cool. All right, Ruben. I think we could probably wrap it up there. I think we've sort of covered everything. So no, mate, thank you very much. Arsenal debut.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a bit mad. It's all a little bit. You guys make it look easy. I did enjoy it, but yeah, I feel a bit. It's a bit surreal, man. Being, following the pod. I've got to say, just obviously, first and foremost, thank you for having me on, and secondly, keep it up, man. I'm a big fan of your takes. I always say this to you, and this will probably be the last compliment you hear from me about the pod. Now that you've got me on, for a guest, don't worry, I'm not getting too carried away. But I think you just give really good, level-headed responses, and it's always good. I mean, obviously, we all know there's lots of media outlets and podcasts and programs for Arsenal stuff that are followed by a lot of fans, not just Arsenal fans. But it's really nice to have level-headed, responses after games. So I really appreciate what you guys do. And thanks, man. It's quite silly that you've got me on to ruin that now.
No, of course not, mate. No, thanks a lot for joining. Appreciate the kind words. It's very, very kind of you to say. And no, thanks for your inputs because no, it's been a good chat. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Cool. All right, let's leave it there. Nice one. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Loads of comments today, and thanks for just the positive comments. And yeah, Shani, just that final one there. Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot for that as well. We appreciate it. Cool. We'll probably be recording after the Villa game next, hopefully, if Aaron and Rajesh sort their shit out, turn up. But yeah, cool. Let's end it there. Have a good evening, man. Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
See you later, guys.
Bye bye.